Hi, everybody. I'm Gaynor Meilke, and this is Moving the Needle, where we discuss digital transformation in the accounting profession. And I'm joined by my co-host, John Higgins from Higgins Advisory. And we have a very exciting guest today. It's been a long time coming to have Eric Green from Tax Rep Network on the show. So, John, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, Gaynor. Thanks for joining us today. And the title of our podcast is Moving the Needle, and we're certainly seeing the needle be moved in tax services, all aspects of it. So very excited to have Eric Green here. He's knee deep into tax services and tax automation. So we're really anxious to hear what you have to say about what's going on in the area of taxes and technology, Eric.
Yeah, no, it is. First of all, thank you for having me on. It is a fascinating time to be in this industry. Probably many industries, but in particular because I'm in this one. But the funny thing is, years ago, I got asked to speak at Scaling New Heights. I'm a lawyer. I go down, I speak, I go back to my room, I bill hours. That's what lawyers do. And you got to go see the exhibit hall. It's accountants. Why? Blown away by just the solutions for like everything, right? I mean, if you name it, there's a solution for it. So now for years, I'm watching the exhibit halls transition to AI and automation. And it's really it's a fascinating time to be watching the industry, be in the industry. Um, and it's going to be interesting to see what companies successfully embrace AI and utilize that, and others that probably go away.
And I think the whole point of going to that into the exhibit hall is like it's overwhelming. There's just so many tools out there now. And so if you're a tax practitioner, it's like, okay, where do you focus and where do you invest your time and your money? So it's yeah, it's a big challenge.
Yeah.
Yep. No.
So from your point of view, Eric, I mean, if you want to back up a little bit and just talk about Tax Rep Network, because that was really the launching pad for your new product, which is RepWorks.
Yeah. So for people who don't know me, so I'm a tax attorney. We have a 20-person law firm. I actually practice every day. And the way you get clients is you go speak, and then they refer, the accountants would refer cases. I had an accountant probably now about 12, 13 years ago walk up to me and he said, I would pay you if you would teach me to do this. And so I started building out, and John, we first met, I was speaking, for organizations, um, training, just training in IRS representation, audits, appeals, offers and compromise, all of that, penalty abatement. Um, well, at some point, some of them started saying, well, can I just like pay you a monthly fee? And it evolved into a membership organization. Well, since then, what we find is a lot of CPAs and EAs who want to do representation. Okay, I got the case, I sat through your training, but now what do I do? Like what do I do next? So I started initially, like literally, I called them roadmaps, which is step one, step two, like a PDF, which then, can we automate this? And before you know it now, we launched really just for Green and Sklar's, just for the law firm, was RepWorks, which is our workflows for, because I probably have at any given time between 200 and 250 open matters. We have 9 people in the tax department. So it's a constant flow. My biggest stress is managing what deadlines, who's got what case. I know it sounds silly, but I'll get a call, an email from a client saying, "Hey, can you tell me what's going on?" I don't know. So, and so I'd have to call, "Hey, Amanda, what's going on with?" Now I can go in, I can see exactly where it is. So now we built that out as a SaaS product. So we literally launched a month and a half ago, Gaynor,
Yeah.
RepWorks. It is all of our workflows. And we had beta testers, John. You know what? You always want to say, hey, I think it's good, but what do you think? And we picked beta testers, I thought, that would be pretty kind of blunt.
Uh-huh.
And the feedback's been great in terms of this is great, but can you, I need to be able to save it into my calendar, right? Can you fix that? And so the feedback we've gotten, we're now on round three of improvements and edits to this. We've now built a forms library into it. So if you don't have a sample engagement letter, we have one. You can download it. Oh, you offer cover letter? That's there. Well, John, we've also been building AI tools inside tax rep. We just loaded those in. So do you want to know how to price this engagement? You can put the information, it'll give you a pricing range that we would charge for it.
Oh,
An
nice.
offer and compromise analyzer. Frankly, I should license it to the IRS. It's better than theirs. But anyway, this is only 2 months, and how fast we're evolving. I imagine for some companies, this has got to be like whiplash.
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, the fact that you are infusing AI into the tool, it's like, the whole one of the big issues out there is where's this all going to go with AI? And you've got the generic tools, and then you've got the, application specific tools like what you have going there, Eric. And I think the value obviously that you bring with your domain expertise and your firm brings with domain expertise, that's the real differentiator. So yeah, I'd really like to take a look at that application because that sounds very interesting. I didn't realize, I guess I should have, but tax resolution, is it a fairly consistent workflow like tax prep?
Yeah.
Well, so the interesting thing is like we don't have a busy season. It's just constant. And
Uh-huh.
what's interesting is when the Department of Government Efficiency came through and lit everything on fire, Doge, um, got rid of 27%. There are all these articles that, enforcement's going away. They've just moved everything to automation. And so in many ways, it's not only more consistent. For instance, when I started at the IRS, and for people who don't know this, they have to use their vacation or they lose it. You can't carry over.
Oh,
The reason that's important is the second half of December, nothing happened. You call over there, they're all gone, right? Everyone's taking their vacation, they're going to visit their kids or whatever. Now, right up until New Year's, I think it was like December 30th, we got a whole stack. I think I posted on online, social media, final notices. Yeah, they don't care about the holidays. The computer doesn't care. It's
yep.
just going. And so
Mhm.
we have seen an uptick in enforcement, and it's just consistent. And what's been, I think, a little bit of a game changer, where we were beating the drum about, we'll educate you, you can do this because of the use of automation. The way I started doing this, there were no courses 30 years ago in this. It didn't exist. It was all former IRS people and DOJ, Department of Justice Tax Division people. They had the market cornered on this.
Yeah.
Um, Now, so how did you learn to do this? There were these things at the IRS way back then called human beings, and you would go over there and you'd sit. They taught you how to do this. Like, Mr. Green, your client's not in compliance. What's compliant? Okay, let's back up. Your client needs to, and you just kind of learn by doing. You could. Today, in many ways, there's more pressure on the tax pro. The automation is not going to explain itself to you. So you need to have a pretty good idea of, okay, I understand the process. I know what'll come next. I know what the deadlines are. So we've actually seen a huge uptick, a growth in tax rep, which I'd love to tell you is my brilliant marketing. In reality, I think it's just more people are looking for answers because the old days of picking up the phone and talking to somebody local are probably gone.
Mhm.
Um, and so, yeah, no, it is, Iris rep work is consistent. It's year round. People don't realize this. One out of every eight taxpayers owes money to the government. There are 26 million non-filers and people with back balances. I mean, there are only
Wow.
155 million tax filers. You have families and couples, but there's only
Uh-huh.
156 million, I think it is, 1040 returns filed. So 26 million have either not filed, not paid, or both. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of work.
And
That's a
then
And
there's
lot.
so,
also the businesses
oh
as
yeah, a
well
lot of
who
business.
run. Yeah. And I mean, just to pull the lens back, you've written a book, How to Build $1 Million Tax Rep Practice. You've done the automation guide. So you pretty much have a lock on the workflow around running a practice. So where are you seeing people, I guess, fall down?
Um, I think the biggest issue is, people have a client that wants help, and often the client only wants to work with, I only want Gaynor because I know Gaynor, I trust Gaynor, whatever. And Gaynor's like, okay, I want to help this person. I and again, before Gaynor would probably pick up the phone and wait on hold and get to someone and walk through it. You can't really do that anymore. So what we're getting is a lot of people coming to tax rep who already have cases. In fact, we
Mhm.
had one sign up yesterday, literally emailed saying, I have a deadline of tomorrow. And so I literally had a Zoom with them at 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
Wow.
Welcome to tax rep. Tell me what your case, because they're with the automation, people that, a lot of people during COVID, they turned off the automated enforcement. A lot of people were taxpayers. They're not bothering me. Maybe they forgot about me.
Uh-huh.
Hmm.
The computer doesn't forget about you. And so now it's woken up. They're now getting these notices. They're coming running in and they're under deadline. So I
Hmm.
think where people are falling down is not falling down so much, but I think the trend is clients are coming in, they now have a real deadline. And for the tax pro to start figuring this out on their own is kind of
Hmm.
an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Um, and and I think, in many ways it's sort of John, I don't know if you have any military background, but
No.
I grew up with some guys who were former Navy SEALs, and the reason they talk about all the hard training is you have to stress test to see how
Hmm.
something's going to respond. That includes the human beings. Um, all of this, the increased demand, the deadlines, the penalties. I mean, the IRS is penalizing left, right, and sideways. I think it's actually either going to force people to adopt automation to kind of it's going to force the change, or there are people who just can't do it anymore, and they're going to get out of the
Hmm.
profession because, and that's what I think AI is going to do. These tools are really useful, and what I think they will do is put the pressure back on the tax pro. I'm viewing tax, but I'm sure accounting, bookkeeping, it's all the same. It's going to put the pressure back on them to be an advisor. You have to be able to be an advisor. Otherwise, there's no purpose to having you,
Yeah.
right? The days of, just give me your stuff, drop it off, and I'll do the numbers and maybe you have a question or something. No one's going to want to pay for that. If so I think you're going to be forced to automate. You're going to be forced to embrace some of this just to get the work done. Um, and then hopefully they can step up and either tax advisory, CAS, CFO services, IRS rep, financial planning, to take your expertise to a level where you justify your existence, and also you can start making better
Hmm.
money. Um, I think all of this is just going to accelerate faster than it would have otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
People
totally
really
agree
need.
with you on
Go
that,
ahead.
Eric. I mean, it's like, and part of the challenge is for the folks that are in like the fourth quarter of their careers, they've been hearing that message for so long. You got to become more advisory, more advisory. And I totally agree with you. The problem is that they've been hearing this message so long, and they're making really pretty good money focusing on compliance work. So I think it's going to be kind of like you were alluding to. Either you're gonna fade out, or you're going to get really strong in your service offerings when you leverage the technologies, the AI and the other automation. So it's going to be a very interesting, and I don't think we're talking 10 years. I think the next 2, 3, 4 years is going to be very transformational across the profession.
Yeah. And I
It's
think it.
funny. I'm sorry, Gaynor.
I was just gonna say, I think it's forcing people to really look at their practice as a business. Like, what's the business model, and how do we make money off creating a machine inside of it, really?
I had Joe Woodard on the Tax Rep Network podcast a couple of years ago when Intuit came out with, it's a tax breakup baby and the Super Bowl ad and all that.
Mm.
The truth is, as crass as it was at least honest that that's where this is heading. And I remember and I were talking, and Joe pointed out, look, you can view this two different ways. It's, oh my God, they're coming for my job, or it's, wait a minute, if I can automate all of this, I can now go get more clients. I can now start. So
Hmm.
that for the people in the fourth quarter, Because we get this every now and then, like, Eric, I'm fascinated by Tax Rep Network, but I'm 65. So what my comeback is, what if I gave you, what if I gave you a different tact? What if you put the automation in place in the next year? Try to maximize your enterprise value. You sell, you got to stick around
Mhm.
for a couple of years. You now build your rep practice where you can bill three, four, $500 an hour. It's a great part-time job, right? You
Yeah.
don't need 10 new clients a week. You get a
Yeah.
couple a month. You're doing pretty darn well. My former senior partner, Bob Percy, retired. In his retirement, he was making 200 grand.
There you go.
And he would only take what he wanted. And he told me, he said, Eric, he said, this isn't such a bad part-time gig because honestly, if it's a pain in the neck, I give it to you and Jeff. I don't want to deal with them, right?
Perfect.
In other words, it was nice to be senior, statesman. So, and so I've had that conversation with people. Said, that's interesting. I hadn't thought of that. This is it's a because you don't need volume. You don't need to grind hours.
Yeah.
This is actually not a bad gig for someone who's got the skills, right? They've got an accounting and bookkeeping tax
Mhm.
background. It's really formula, numbers, and process. I mean, like I always tell people, give me an afternoon. I'll show you how to do IRS representation,
Uh-huh.
at least 90% of it. And so it's you know what it is, really is, it's mindset. How are
Mhm.
you viewing this? If you view this as my job, they're taking my job, probably should go find a therapist, and you got some things problems.
Right.
If you're look at it as business owner, it's hard to wrap your head around the opportunity, actually.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of opportunity. And to your point about pressure testing, with all of these new solutions coming online, I think it's also going to be interesting to see who survives from the tech standpoint. And when you've got something like what you've built within an actual working practice, that you're going to keep refining it, and you already know that it works in real life, whereas some of these solutions are companies that are coming in and seeing accounting as a market as opposed to a real practice. So I think that's an important thing that you've done as well. I mean, you know from the ground up how this needs to work, and if it doesn't work for you, you're going to keep making improvements as well. So
Yeah.
check out taxrepworks.com. Is that the URL?
Oh, yeah, for the SaaS product. Yeah, yeah. So it's taxrepllc.com is tax rep, but yeah, it's taxrepworks.com.
Yeah, but if you go to the taxrepllc.com site, you can get a link over to that website. And I mean, you've got so much industry knowledge, business knowledge. You've talked to a lot of AI, entrepreneurs, Eric. So when you think about where we're going, digital transformation in the accounting profession and beyond, it sounds like you think it's a positive trend.
So I actually asked, it's funny, I asked ChatGPT, looking at tax rep network, what are the, with the increased use of and the spreading of AI, what are the risks and what would be the best moves? And it basically came back and said something really interesting. It said tax rep network has a tremendous advantage because no matter how much AI spreads, the people who will do best are the ones that own the experience and knowledge, because that is what the AI will have to use.
Mhm.
Basically, tax rep has got to stop just educating and get much more into expanding on its AI tools and leveraging all of the knowledge in its training,
Mhm.
which I found really interesting. And I think that along those lines, if I and I would just because I told a member this yesterday, if I had to move to another city, I've got no practice, everything now is digital, so I would, but if I didn't, what would I do? I said, I think you could go buy a tax practice fairly cheap because there are people who just want to get out. I said I would invest my money in digital marketing. I would put automations in place. I would then leverage the experience that I have, be the face of it. All right. And I think that I could probably build $1 million business in 12 months.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because
that makes
what
sense.
what I did then, John, renting rooms, Gaynor, sending mailers, hoping people, because you didn't know if they're going to show up or not, hoping they show up, them
Right.
buying hors d'oeuvres. I mean, and it worked, but it took time, right? It was
Mhm.
just a slog, and there was no good fast way to speed it up. You just did more of it. Today, with webinars, emails, social media, digital ads, retargeting, I'm pretty certain that I could regenerate $1 million book of business in under 12 months. And so if you're listening to this and you have a practice, um, it's really time to sit down and uh, what can I automate? If you map out the entire process for every service you do, there's probably an automation, probably more than one you could pick from to do that. If you automate all of that, now you've got your time back, right? And you cut down on mistakes and all that stuff. Now, all right, I've got the time. I'm going to go, and I got a machine, feed more into the machine. I'm going to start marketing. I would focus and invest in digital marketing. Target the audience that you want. Um, and I think the sky's the limit. You will only be limited basically on what it is you can envision.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, AI, people get the fear factor of it, but there's such an opportunity with it as well. So it's like you got to reimagine what you're actually doing in your practice. And I mean, tax rep is a great niche because it is so focused. Really can, gain clients quickly because there's so many people who have, tax issues for sure. So
Absolutely.
thank you so
Yes.
much, Eric. And John, do
Yeah.
you have any last questions for Eric?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to learn more about tax rep works. You said is that correct, Eric? Tax rep works.
Yeah, the domain is taxrepworks.com.
Okay, great. I'd like to learn about it and bring it into my presentation on smarter tax services with AI. Sounds like it'd be a good little niche to cover in that. So I'm looking forward to learning more
Well,
about it.
And
that
if
sounds great.
we go to taxrepllc.com, there's lots of events there. You do some free events too, so people can learn more about tax rep network and tax representation as a business, and you've got books, resources, everything on the site. And if you're lucky enough to catch Eric Green speaking somewhere, you should definitely tune in because kind of, I work with Eric, but I really do think he's a legend in the industry. So I appreciate that.
That's pretty high praise.
I
Thank you.
Yeah,
that is.
well, he's
Thank you, Eric, for
done a
taking the
lot.
time to
So are
join us
you,
today.
John. I'm so lucky to be surrounded by people like you. So thanks everybody for tuning in, and thanks Eric for making the time and John for joining us.
Thanks for hosting, Gaynor.
Yep,
You're
thank you for
welcome.
having me.
All right. Thank you.